MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is home ownership consultant Ross Kay from the wealthyhomeowner.ca. Welcome back to the show, Ross, and happy Boxing Day.
Yeah, happy Boxing Day to you, and happy, I guess, last show of 2017.
Yes, we'll talk again next year. Ross, on December 20th, CBC reported that BC Assessment had issued a warning that 67,000 homeowners in BC would be hit with huge increases in property tax in 2018, something you warned about on this show several times over the past year. What are your thoughts on this warning you previously issued that has now come true?
Well, my thoughts are is that your listeners who were listening here and didn't take action, or any of the other the politicians or I guess advisors who listened to this show who didn't act upon what we had warned about, once again, as happens with the show over and over again, they were found that our warning was true, and it has happened. I think they've understated the numbers. They're talking about 67,000 homeowners, I believe, is what the CBC reported. I know in the report from BC Assessment it didn't specifically quote that number, but they made a specific reference to condominiums or strata, and that's really where I guess today's topic should be focused, Jim. The methodology for property tax assessment that they're using in British Columbia is not designed to be used every single year. What I mean to say by that is that when you reassess properties every single year, you don't catch the property ever at its correct value. You're always measuring it at a moment in time where the supply and demand forces on that specific category of home that you own is imbalanced. That imbalance will cause your property taxes in a calendar year to be higher than they should, or it will cause them to be lower than they should be. What has happened here this year, which is, I believe we warned about this one last year at around this time, and that was the fact that the ultra-luxury class homes, those properties heavily purchased by foreign buyers, who are now foreign owners, non-Canadian owners, they were going to actually get a property tax decrease at the expense of British Columbians. So the true Canadian British Columbian, specifically young first-time buyers who purchased their own home over the last 2 or 3 years, they're going to see their property taxes go up disproportionately at the same time as foreign owners of ultra-luxury class homes see their property taxes drop. Now, this is simply a result of the methodology used by property tax assessment offices from British Columbia to St. John's, Newfoundland. They are flawed methodologies. But what happens in British Columbia is that it gets emphasized. It gets a boost. And that boost doesn't happen in other provinces. So for the sake of the argument, we'll use Ontario for a comparable reference. In Ontario, property taxes are actually calculated, new assessment values, every 4 years. And then, over the following 4 years, the property tax assessment are gradually rolled out in quarter increments. So if for the sake of the argument, if your property assessment went up $20,000, over 4 years, you would have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, and $20,000 added to your property tax assessment. That methodology with the 4-year window normally allows the trading cycle to roll out in your marketplace at the provincial level and for those property tax differentials to be mitigated. But not so in British Columbia. Because the trading cycle in British Columbia started back in May of 2013, and it rolled on through until March, April of 2016, the longest a single trading cycle in British Columbia history. The methodology used for the property tax assessment has had consecutive increases over those the first 3 years of that cycle. So 13, 14, 15, it increased. In 2016, as the market was starting to have its corrections play out, and as the next trading cycle was beginning, then all of a sudden, the property tax assessment, which ends in July, started to be rolling into the following year, which would be coming up to be released here on for your 2017 valuations used for 2018 taxes. So you're looking at a period of July of 2016 till July of 2017 is where that the price assessment is generated from. That was at the absolute worst time in British Columbia's history, because that's the moment in time where single detached homes of the highest price point dropped the most in value, while the lowest price condominium stratas increased at the highest rate. What your listeners need to understand is this. Real estate trading cycles operate the same way every single time. There is no confusion. These cycles, these patterns repeat themselves. It puts supply and demand pressures on different categories of homes at different periods during that trading cycle. For the first time, British Columbia has lined up perfectly so that the people at the lowest income wage earning Canadians who purchase their first homes are now going to supplement foreign owners. So what the BC what BC assessment never came out and publicly stated was foreign owners of ultra luxury class homes are going to have their property taxes fall. Canadians are going to make up the difference. So not only is your housing stock been eaten up by foreign owners, not only did the real estate associations allowed to create more house price illusion by not addressing this issue of foreign ownership for years on end, but now your property tax assessment methodology is going to cause more financial harm at the worst moment in time, Jim. Like, this is the worst moment in time for these people. Anybody who had a short-term mortgage, in other words, their mortgage was variable, it was open, it was for 1 or 2 years, and the mortgage was renewed in the last 1 or 2 years. Those mortgages are going to come up for renewal next year. At the exact same moment, your property tax assessment goes up and your property taxes rise. Because it's not just your property tax assessment that has gone up, it's the percentage increase. So if all the properties go up 5%, but your goes up 10, you pay higher property tax. The guys whose property tax went up 0, he pays a lower property tax. And that's what's happening right now. So these people with these mortgages renewing are going to see their property tax increases. At the same time, they're going back in and trying to qualify at these new OSFI lending rules, where you have to add on the 2% added to your interest rate. This is happening at the worst time possible because your property taxes are going to eat up more of your gross debt service ratio that the banks are calculating. So not only are you losing by paying more property taxes, supplementing the foreign owners, your own mortgage qualification terms are getting worse, and you may be forced to pay a higher interest rate in your mortgage. Those warnings have not been issued anywhere in British Columbia as far as I know of. They are as factual as our warning to you on House Street a year ago that your property taxes were going to go up.
So what is the person in that category to do with these super high assessments?
Well, it varies from property to property, but I will tell you that I noticed a few people quoting who do property tax reassessments for a living. In other words, they're the people you go to if you think your property taxes are too high, and they promise you that they can reduce get your property taxes lower. The problem is the people that are doing this, they don't understand how the methodology is impacted by the trading cycle. And since the BC assessment, the province of British Columbia, the British Columbia government, the academics, the economists, none of these people understand how the trading cycle works. They really can't supply you with relief at all. The only real way to deal with this, if you've had your property tax is going up. So anyone who's going to see their property tax increase more than inflation, anyone, those are potential people that should be going in and complaining about their property taxes. You need to have the information with you that can show the provincial body, the BC assessment, why your argument is correct. In other words, you're taxing me higher in my house simply because at this point in the trading cycle, the demand for my type of home that I currently own is higher than it has been at any other time since May of 2013. Very difficult issue to go over, Jim. Very difficult for the average homeowner to argue. I really believe in this specific case, there needs to be a mass movement of millennial first-time home buyers who've purchased their homes since May of 2013, lobbying the government to have your property tax assessment reevaluated. Because I can supply the information that proves my point. So that means the information is available if you know how to read it. This is a massive number of people. By our calculations right now, Jim, in urban British Columbia, there are somewheres around 300,000 homeowners that are going to be affected by this. There are going to be somewhere around 70,000 foreign owners who benefit from this. I don't think that that's fair, but the only way your listeners or the people in British Columbia are going to get a response from this is as if en masse you go to the government and you lodge a complaint. Because I'll tell you folks, they're not going to listen to you. They believe their methodology is correct, even though on this show for over a year, this result was warned about.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after the break.
Glance Technologies owns and operates Glance Pay, a disruptive mobile payment technology now live in 16 cities in Canada and about to launch in the U.S. With revenues up 664% in the last quarter, Glance Technologies has the potential to be a worldwide leader in an industry projected to grow to $1.3 trillion in 3 years. Glance Technologies stock symbols are GLNFF in the U.S. and GET in Canada. Find out more at glancepay.com.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp Inc., MGI on the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected high-grade gold, including 16.9 meters of 13.58 grams and 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program is planned to further evaluate previously identified subsurface high-grade gold mineralization. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Ross Kay. Ross, I remember when we talked about tax assessments last time that, again, you explained that only the top 10% of homes in your area ever sell, and that the rest of you who haven't put new roofs on your house or new appliances or redone the driveway are paying taxes that you really shouldn't have to.
So you're someone who obviously listened to the show, Jim, and you remember what I said because that is the truth. The truth of the matter is when less than 2% of the housing stock sells in a calendar year and everybody's property taxes are based on what that 2% sell, you are always going to have these drastically different variations in property tax assessments. Variations meaning inaccuracies. So this BC assessment thing, we are talking billions of dollars. So it's not a little tiny bit of difference here we're talking about. We're talking billions of dollars. Billions of dollars taken out of British Columbians' pockets, and some of that billion going into foreign owners' pockets. There is no debate on this issue, Jim. They can argue with me till they're blue in the face. I can sit here, right here with our data, and prove what we're saying is true. Now, it isn't just our data that makes a difference. It's the analytics that are attached to that data and the intelligence that it's attached to it that allows us to have the ability to understand the trading cycle. And unfortunately, as I've told your listeners time and again on this show, that you go ahead and Google trading cycle and you will not find that it exists anywhere else because it's not understood. But that's exactly what's going on. In the last 3 weeks, Jim, we have heard some absolutely crazy things from all across Canada about real estate. In Ontario, we heard about record-breaking new listing counts at historical records. Yet here we sit here today, when I'm looking at the city of Toronto, there are basically 100 more homes for sale today, Boxing Day, December 26, 2017, than there was December 26, 2016. It's just that the people counting these things aren't actually counting them correctly. This new listing propaganda that I have told your listeners about over and over and over on this show, that it means nothing, was never designed to be released to the public and used by economists or academics. It was never designed for that. It was designed for real estate agents to cover up their incompetence for the few number of their listings that they actually sell. So they don't talk about the canceled listings, expired listings, revised listings, listings that were pulled off the market, put up back on the market, listings where commission rates were changed, listings where the price point changed. All of those things are not discussed. But all of those are counted in new listings. So unless you're extracting all of that talk from it, and you have the ability and knowledge and expertise that allows you to extract that from it, it's worthless. It's why all of these real estate people who want the real estate data released are still talking about new listings to sales ratio and using it in historical context for the last 50 years as justification for what they're saying. Because they don't know how to extract that information from what's given. Right now in Toronto, Jim, right now in the city of Toronto, there are less than 4,300 homes for sale. Less than 4,300 homes for sale in the city of Toronto. That's how these new listing counts mean nothing. It's hogwash. That goes back to your property assessment question. Unless someone understands how the trading cycle works, its impact on property tax assessment, its impact on the appraised value of properties, its impact of when you should be buying or when you should be selling your home, depending on the category of home you want to be buying, unless you understand all that, you're simply going to be wrong. And I apologize, but they're wrong.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after this.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Realty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario, with grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program to test numerous targets located by recent groundwork is planned for early 2018. Please visit our website at rmroyalty.com.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HowStreet.com. Welcome back. We're speaking with Ross Kay. Ross, developer Brad Lamb, a self-proclaimed Condo King, in your neck of the woods, cited in a Globe and Mail article stating he purchased a $450,000 condo for his 5-year-old, and Lamb now says that will be worth $3 million in 15 years. Do you see 800 square foot condos going up that much?
This is what happens when shills and hucksters are allowed to communicate to the public without prosecution. That's what we're talking about here, Jim. This is no different than the realtors out in British Columbia who appear on Global News, CTV, have blogs that are spouting off nonsense every single day as they seek to get business. Okay? So these people, they should be charged. Now, what I mean by that is that if they can prove what they're saying is accurate, then don't charge them. But when they can't prove what they're saying is accurate, because I know they can't, it's a hogwash, it's made up, it's guessing, then if you have a real estate license, you should be charged. Because the right to trade in real estate is given under the pretext that you will not mislead the public. Now, what that misleading means is that you're not going to guess at things. If you don't understand how to price a condominium, you keep your mouth shut. If you don't know how to price an ultra luxury class property, you keep your mouth shut. If you don't know how the trading cycle works, you keep your mouth shut. And the provincial regulators have all told real estate agents for over 50 years, keep your mouth shut. You don't have any training in how housing markets function, so keep your mouth shut. But for some reason, over the last 3 or 4 years, real estate agents from British Columbia to St. John's and to Toronto, back to Toronto, are appearing on television in the media making comments that my family, who had sold over 5,000 houses, would never make in public because the provincial regulator told us, keep your mouth shut. So even though we could explain things, we didn't open our mouth because the regulator said, keep your mouth shut. You want to earn commission? Keep your mouth shut. Here we have Brad Lamb. Brad Lamb was on HGTV. Like you said, he had a show with Condo King. Okay, so he gained fame. Now he's developing. He's not only developing in Toronto with Lamb Developments, he's also developing in Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg. He also developed in Calgary. In Calgary, I know Garth Turner on his blog, Garth would come out and post some of these crazy advertising strategies that Brad Lamb used in Calgary about promising that these condos were going to be great investments. Now, I'm sitting here laughing at these comments from this real estate agent, Brad Lamb, who's now pretending to be this big developer. And he is a big developer. He's conned people. In my personal opinion, he's conned people. And those people in Calgary got caught. Because what happened was the commitments that were made on the investment, the proposals, the conditions, the footnotes, they were something that wasn't going to exist in the future. It was impossible. And as we all know, Calgary's market turned and those people have been caught. What he's actually saying in this Globe and Mail piece that you're referencing to about an 800 square foot condo, this is what he is saying, Jim. In the next 15 years, that condominium is going to increase 14% per year every single year for the next 15 years. That's the only way that it reaches $3 million. Now, what that means is this. That condo is going to appreciate at 3 times the rate that the properties in Ontario have appreciated at over the last 40 years. So in the next 15 years, as interest rates are rising, this property is going to set a new historical Canadian record of 14% per year for 15 years. It's going to go up. Not only is that ludicrous, it is impossible. Why it's impossible is, odds are 15 years from now, we're going to be looking at interest rates around 8% if the interest rate curve follows its normal pattern. So let's say that it only goes to 6%. Well, at 6%, you have to qualify at 8 under the new rules. And these new rules will be the rules that exist forever going forward. The OSFI is not going to backtrack on these rules. This is how you buy a home. Instead of them reducing the gross debt service ratio from 39% maximum, they've effectively reduced it to about 34%. Okay, that's effectively what they've done. So at 8% interest, someone is going to be able to buy this property for $3 million in 15 years, is what this guy actually said. And our national broadcaster published it. Not only did they publish this, but they published a whole bunch of other crap along in the exact same article, held up to the population as if it's the truth. All I ask your listeners to do is this. Sit down with a calculator and find out how much your mortgage payment would be on 72% loan-to-value ratio of a $3 million condo. Also, you must remember, if it's a $3 million condo, triple, quadruple the strata or condo fees that are associated with that condo in 15 years, because that's what has to happen. Then go ahead and calculate the change in property taxes. Just on property taxes alone, what this guy is saying is people are going to pay 6 times the property taxes on this property over 15 years. It's just so ludicrous, but it's in the paper. In this particular article you're referencing, I think they were also talking about, or this might have been the Globe. I don't know if this was in the Globe. My apologies to CBC. CBC reported on the BC homeowner. This is a Globe and Mail article. Okay, so my apologies to CBC. This is a Globe and Mail problem. Globe and Mail has lots of problems when it comes to reporting on housing. Whether they used the National Bank House Price Index, they covered up a $50,000 drop in that index when they revised the index. Globe and Mail never mentioned it. Their reporters go on and misquote prices all over the nation and sales volumes. They basically regurgitate whatever organized real estate gives them. So that's where I'm talking about here. Why I know that is in this exact same article, they were talking about a woman who was going out in Brooklyn, a small town in Ontario here, just outside of the GTA, and she bought two properties for her kids under the same premise that Brad Lamb was being interviewed on. And they were quoting about how she's losing money on these places. Losing money on these places is an investment. So that means it's not an investment, it's a speculation. And how she thinks that this is going to help her children 25 years from now. It won't. Just the most ridiculous financial advice you've ever had. But my comment to that is, Jim, is that Brad Lamb, a registrant under the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act in the province of Ontario, is allowed to go on the Globe and Mail and make outrageous claims like this without prosecution. The same way that real estate agents in British Columbia, who are pretending to be housing analysts and housing with data analysis of the Vancouver housing market, have continued to make incorrect and fallacious statements for the last 2 years in your market. It's time for the provincial regulators to crack down on these people, because I will guarantee anybody here, you will not see a $450,000 800 square foot condo in the city of Toronto be worth $3 million 15 years from now. It will not happen. We are not going to allow 5 million people a year to immigrate into this country. And that's the only pretext that that would even be possible.
Ross, always fun chatting with you.
And it's great for you having me back on, Jim.
And I hope that everybody has a great New Year.
Me too, and we're going to have some real breaking news with the first show in the new year, Jim. I want to let you know that ahead of time. We've got some new reports that we're going to be making public for the very first time in history, and that news will be broken here on House Street first. Ross,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
My guest has been home ownership consultant Ross Kay from thewealthyhomeowner.ca. You're listening to HouseStreet.com Radio. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter at House Street. Questions for the show can be sent to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Happy holidays, everybody.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.